Short-term and long-term fasting each produce distinct physiological responses, and understanding these differences is crucial for optimizing metabolic and cardiovascular health. Short-term fasting, typically lasting 12 to 16 hours daily or intermittently over a day, primarily affects immediate energy metabolism, glucose regulation, and hormonal fluctuations, while extended intermittent fasting protocols over weeks or months can lead to broader adaptations in body composition, cardiovascular markers, and long-term metabolic efficiency. The science indicates that both approaches offer benefits, but the mechanisms and outcomes differ depending on duration, consistency, and overall lifestyle context. In the short term, fasting periods of 12 to 16 hours primarily improve insulin sensitivity and support stable blood glucose levels. After an overnight fast or a similar short fasting window, circulating insulin drops, allowing the body to mobilize stored fat for energy. Glycogen stores in the liver and muscles become available, and fat oxidation increases, helping to stabilize energy levels between meals. Short-term fasting also triggers mild hormonal adaptations, such as temporary increases in norepinephrine, which can elevate metabolic rates slightly and enhance alertness. Cardiovascularly, even brief fasting can reduce postprandial triglyceride spikes when the first meal is consumed after a fasting period, supporting vascular health and reducing oxidative stress associated with nutrient metabolism. These short-term changes often occur without significant calorie restriction, highlighting the importance of timing and feeding windows in daily metabolic regulation. Extended intermittent fasting, maintained consistently over months, amplifies and expands these benefits through adaptive mechanisms. Over time, prolonged or repeated fasting windows promote more significant reductions in visceral fat, lower fasting insulin and glucose levels, and improve overall lipid profiles, including reductions in LDL cholesterol and triglycerides. Longer-term fasting encourages more pronounced fat oxidation, increased mitochondrial efficiency, and improved metabolic flexibility, enabling the body to switch efficiently between carbohydrate and fat as fuel. These adaptations also influence cardiovascular health. Studies have shown that regular long-term fasting can reduce blood pressure, enhance endothelial function, and decrease systemic inflammation, creating protective effects against chronic cardiovascular disease. Additionally, repeated fasting cycles support autophagy and cellular repair processes, which contribute to tissue health and long-term resilience. One key distinction between short and long-term fasting lies in the sustainability and behavioral adaptations they foster. Short-term fasting windows, such as 12 to 16 hours daily, are often easier to integrate into lifestyle routines and can be maintained with minimal disruption to social and work schedules. They help individuals naturally regulate caloric intake, reduce late-night snacking, and stabilize energy without requiring major dietary overhauls. Extended intermittent fasting over months, especially with longer fasting periods like 20-hour fasts or alternate day fasting, can produce more dramatic physiological changes, but may require careful planning to maintain nutrient adequacy, avoid energy deficits, and ensure exercise performance is not compromised. The long-term approach often leads to habit formation, mindfulness in meal composition, and structured daily routines, which collectively reinforce metabolic health. From a cardiovascular perspective, short-term fasting primarily reduces acute postprandial stress by moderating glucose and lipid fluctuations immediately after meals. This can lower oxidative stress and inflammation in the vascular system on a day-to-day basis. In contrast, long-term fasting contributes to structural and systemic improvements, such as reductions in arterial stiffness, improved heart rate variability, and lowered chronic inflammatory markers. These adaptations result from cumulative effects of repeated fasting cycles combined with improved metabolic efficiency and body composition. While short-term fasting provides immediate functional benefits, long-term fasting consolidates these improvements into measurable risk reductions for cardiovascular disease over time. It is also important to consider the interplay between fasting, meal composition, and circadian alignment. Both short-term and long-term fasting work best when feeding windows are synchronized with periods of optimal insulin sensitivity and metabolic activity, typically earlier in the day. Early feeding combined with fasting promotes more efficient glucose utilization, better fat oxidation, and enhanced circadian entrainment, maximizing the metabolic and cardiovascular benefits of both short and long fasting periods. Ignoring circadian cues, such as consuming the majority of calories late in the evening, can reduce the effectiveness of fasting, regardless of duration, and may interfere with sleep quality, appetite regulation, and energy utilization. In practical terms, short-term fasting is highly accessible and offers tangible benefits with minimal lifestyle disruption, supporting glucose regulation, fat oxidation, and postprandial cardiovascular health. Extended intermittent fasting over months intensifies these benefits, producing reductions in body fat, improved insulin sensitivity, better lipid profiles, enhanced mitochondrial function, and lower systemic inflammation, all of which contribute to long-term cardiovascular and metabolic resilience. Combining either fasting approach with nutrient-dense meals, consistent sleep, physical activity, and circadian-aligned routines optimizes outcomes, allowing the body to adapt efficiently while maintaining energy, cognitive performance, and overall wellness. In summary, both short-term and long-term fasting confer meaningful metabolic and cardiovascular benefits, but they do so through complementary mechanisms. Short-term fasting supports immediate energy balance, glucose control, and post-meal vascular function, while long-term intermittent fasting produces deeper physiological adaptations, improving body composition, lipid metabolism, and cardiovascular resilience over time. When applied thoughtfully, either approach can be a practical, science-based strategy to enhance metabolism, support heart health, and promote sustainable, long-term wellness.